Imposter syndrome. We all have it. Well, at least those of us who are not egomaniacs. And I'm often asked for strategies for working through imposter syndrome / insecurity, either about yourself or the book you're writing. So let's tackle that. How do you conquer imposter syndrome as a writer? Let's go. First, you're clearly in good company. As I mentioned, we all fight this. I think I've yet to meet any writer who doesn't, although it does get better with time. I promise you that. So here are a few strategies that I recommend for not being as plagued by self-doubt. The first strategy is to let it be. Okay, I have bad news and good news. Bad news is that the self-doubt never fully goes away, like I said a second ago, but I do think it can shrink, or it can at least feel less powerful once you sort of embrace it and let it exist without battling it in a way that makes it seem more monstrous than it has to be. I recently read a book called How to Carry What You Cannot Fix. Great title, right? How to Carry What You Cannot Fix. It's a book on grief, but I actually think self-doubt is very similar. Like, how do you carry it when you can't actually make it go away? You know, sure, it's easy for us to say things like, believe in yourself, you know, like put a Post-it on your mirror telling you that you're beautiful, like say it a million times a day. But for me, at least, my feelings, including my feelings about myself, have never worked like that. It's very difficult, if not impossible, for me to just tell myself to feel differently about my own abilities or myself, you know, including feelings of self-doubt. And so the question is actually, how do we find strategies for living with and around self-doubt? And how do we write through it as writers and not give up? Which leads to my second strategy for you. The second one is give it a voice. I've actually found that it works really well for me to give my self-doubt an actual voice. Here's what I mean. I'll actually sit down and do journaling in the voice of my doubt. I'll let it say all of the things it's afraid of, this voice. So, you know, like, I'm afraid people are gonna think I'm stupid. I'm afraid that this book is gonna be terrible and a waste of my time. I'm afraid that no one will publish it. I list out the fears, and then I try to follow them through to their logical completion. Like, okay, what if that's true? So for example, what if people genuinely do think I'm stupid? What if it truly does never get published? What if it's true that I spend 10 years writing this book, hundreds or thousands of hours of my life, and it never sees the light of day? What then? Or what if I embarrass myself? What if I really do embarrass myself? What happens then? When I actually follow these fears to their natural conclusion on paper, when I'm journaling, what I often find is that where they lead is a lot less terrifying than it was in the abstract before I had played it out. Okay, for example, if I publish a book and everyone thinks I'm stupid because of it, okay, well, I know I'm not, and the people close to me who are worth keeping in my life, at least, know I'm not. So I guess it doesn't really affect my life that much if strangers I never interact with think I'm stupid. If it doesn't get published, okay, so then I spent all of my time writing something and it doesn't get published. Would I, in that situation, wish I had never written it in the first place? Frankly, probably not, because at least then I would know that the reason it didn't get published wasn't because I didn't try. And when I do write, it's because I feel compelled. So publication has never been the actual reason I'm writing. Yes, of course I want any book I write to be published, like naturally. But if that doesn't happen, I still want to have written the book. So in sum, I think journaling your self-doubt, giving it an actual voice, can be an effective way of disarming it. Okay, I have one more strategy for you, but real fast before I do. If you're working on a book, I want to invite you to apply to the Book Incubator. It's my 12-month MFA alternative that I started and that I now run with novelist Rufi Thorpe. You can apply at the link below. The application is just 2 questions. It'll take you under 5 minutes. And if you're writing a novel, you definitely want to check it out. Now back to the video. Okay, my third and final strategy for you is to think of your self-doubt like a toddler. Sometimes people compare self-doubt to toddlers. I'm not the first one to do this. I think it's actually a very apt metaphor because, you know, you don't have to have a kid to know that sometimes a child will throw a tantrum. And when that happens, they really just want to be heard. Once you give them the space to be heard, they often quiet. because they've been hurt and that's what they wanted in the first place. With my kid, who just turned 5, so he's just now leaving toddler years, I was taught by a parent educator to acknowledge the feeling, to de-escalate a situation. So instead of saying, no, you don't get a popsicle right now, it's 6 a.m., which only leads to more upset, saying, oh, I see, you wish you could have a popsicle right now, you're sad that you can't. And listen, this isn't a magic wand. It's not like he immediately chills or is cool with not getting what he wants, but he's more likely to ease into a calm kind of discontent when I don't dismiss him. The critical voice in your mind is a little bit like that, which is why I think the journaling that I talked about in strategy 2 can be so effective. Viewing the voice as a toddler can also have the silver lining of making it feel a lot less scary, because you know, most toddlers aren't scary. They're very cute. And those are the strategies I have for you today. I hope at least one of them was helpful.